Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to review episode 3, season 7, Game of Thrones, which is called The Queen's Justice. Okay, let's get straight in there, just like they did. I thought they'd tease us a bit with Jon's journey south, but no, immediately there he is, White Harbour, stamp on the passport, and Jon's finally left the north for the first time in his life. Can I just say, why don't men dress like this anymore? That first shot of Jon and Davos getting out of the boat and walking up the beach with their boiled leather, furs and what have you, just looking cool as fuck. And of course, Jon's ever-present man bun, which is just too much for a girl to handle, frankly. I did not like the suspicious look on Jon's face when he is asked to hand over Longclaw and watches for quite a while his boat is taken away. I think from that moment onwards, he's starting to realise, I've made a terrible mistake. I'm really happy that Jon and Tyrion have a little chat about Sansa. My little Jonsa shipper heart skipped a beat when I saw the look that Jon gave Tyrion when he said, oh, the marriage was unconsummated. And Jon just goes, I didn't ask. It's like Jon's begging, please don't make me lose my shit and strangle you because I really like you, dude. And that line, she's much smarter than she lets on. And Jon saying, yeah, she started to let on like an exasperated big brother. Yay, a bit of appreciation for the queen of my heart from her patronising and protective big brother. More of that, please. Now, the first thing that I want to say is how smug I am that I predicted this dialogue between Jon and Tyrion. And I know I wasn't 100% spot on, but I'm pretty damn close. Look.
How does a bastard boy from the north with nothing to inherit ascend from Night's Watchman to Lord Commander to King in the North? And then Jon will say, and how does the imp of Casterly Rock murder his father and ascend to Hand of the Queen for Daenerys Targaryen? Perhaps we should discuss it later over some wine.
I know, right? Maybe I spend a little too much time watching this show and reading these books. Who can say? Who can say? And at the moment when Jon says, I'm not a Stark, am I wrong? Or was that the moment that his bio daddy's Rhaegar's namesake, Rhaegal, chose to swoop in and have a look at him? I mean, that's definitely not an accident, is it? Now this Mel and Varys scene, I've brought ice and fire together. You sure have. That she and Varys both have to die in this strange country. Creepy as fuck. I have been wondering what's going to happen to Varys now that the real war has begun and his political machinations become less and less relevant by the episode. Now, this episode was huge for one major reason, the meeting of Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen. I was very, very worried about this because to all of us fans, this is a momentous occasion. And I was a bit concerned that the writers wouldn't do it justice. On the whole though, I really, really enjoyed the dialogue between them. I really bought into it as them being like, I don't know you, and why would I bend the knee to you? Or I don't know you, you don't even have a claim, and you're in my way. I love that straight away Daenerys is giving us a masterclass in intimidation and psychological dominance. I imagine she found a way to ensure that her dragons were seen flying around the castle for when the king in the north arrived. And the fact that she looks drop dead gorgeous with her incredible braids and her Star Trek villain dress sat a long way above him on her stony throne and with her 15 names. I do hope Jon is taking some lessons. Whatever happened to the high seat of Winterfell with the direwolves carved along the edge? I'm wondering if maybe the Boltons are supposed to have destroyed it because so far all we've had is Jon standing at that fucking picnic table and, like, frankly, it's not very impressive. Get that boy a throne and a crown like he deserves. Also, I feel like in the books, there's no way Jon wouldn't have a style. Jon could have loads of stuff like the White Wolf, unifier of the free folk and the Northmen, slayer of White Walkers, protector of the North. I know neither he nor Davos were exactly trained and groomed in courtly ways, but they could have had a go at working something out on the boat, come on. And thank you, Davos, for stepping right in there and reminding Daenerys that she is in fact addressing a king, not a lord. I'm really enjoying the history recap here as well, and the mention of Torrhen Stark, the king who knelt to Aegon the Conqueror. I was so sure Jon was immediately just going to go, oh, all right, I'll just be the Warden of the North because I want to protect my people. I'm so happy that he decided to fight his corner, even though Kit is totally playing it like, I am out of my fucking depth here. Dany's apology for what the Mad King did to Rickard and Brandon Stark was a really nice touch. She's very good at shock and awe, but that's not what she wants to be all about. She wants to be loved, and she wants to draw a very firm line between herself and her crazy father. Now, in terms of the writing, sometimes I get a little bit confused about Jon. There's times when he's talking to people and he's this incredible orator and really, really charismatic and very easily wins people over to his side, such as at Hardhome, for example, when he convinces the rest of the free folk to join them. And other times, like this episode, he's presented as someone who really struggles to communicate, saying vague things to strangers or near strangers like Tyrion, such as, "The dead are the enemy," without doing the sensible thing, which is tell the story from beginning to end about his time in the Night's Watch, infiltrating the Wildling army, their attack on the Wall, how he stole Stannis' plot from the books and allowed the Wildlings through the Wall for the first time in history, after rescuing them from the massacre at Hardhome. But no, here he just gets frustrated and flustered and really fails to get his point across. I do think the writing is a bit inconsistent in this sense, but I do find it adorable that he's becoming increasingly obsessive and frustrated about the White Walker threat and the fact that no one seems to give a fuck except him. This speech by Dany, oh my god, faith in myself, nothing else, is what's kept me going through the years. Girl, that is fucking sick. We can all relate to that, right? I sure as hell can. Now, isn't it interesting that Jon shushes Davos when he mentions that he took a knife in the heart for his people and starts to say he gave his life for his people? What are we to make of this? Is it because it's too traumatic and he isn't coping with it well psychologically? Is it maybe because it was just the worst day ever and he really doesn't want to be honest and tell people about it only to have them laugh in his face and call him a liar? A friend of mine said that he thinks that when Dany and Jon eventually and inevitably fall in love, she'll see his scars when he's in the Altogether, and then hopefully we'll get a big emotional reveal about how Jon feels about it. I really hope so. I know that Jon is a stoic chap, but if we really get to the end of the series without him ever having talked openly about how he feels about his death and resurrection, I am going to feel really, really shortchanged. I just want to take a moment to talk about how I absolutely fucking hated the character of Jon Snow until I read the books, which was last year or the year before. As a teenager, I was a Tolkien obsessive. And immediately from watching Game of Thrones, I grasped how much Jon is based on Aragorn, son of Arathorn. He'd been made into this really dull, two-dimensional hero. And I was always like, why is everyone so hyped up about this character, Jon Snow, when there's so many more fascinating characters in the show, like Daenerys or Tyrion or Sansa, or people who have a much more complex story and a complex path. But when I read the books, I absolutely fell in love with him and the chapters at the Wall and the Night's Watch and all of that stuff. Jon's chapters throughout the books are so full of angst and vulnerability and internal conflict. And don't forget, in the books, when it starts, he's meant to be a 14-year-old boy. Even the brief moments of happiness that he's given, like when he's with Ygritte, for example, are loaded with problems because as much as he loves her, he hates himself for breaking his Night's Watch vows to be with her. And when he leaves her, he hates himself for betraying her. Now, I am utterly convinced that neither Jon nor Daenerys will live to see the day after the war against the White Walkers is won. I think they are both weapons or generals or just soldiers in this war, and that their purpose is to lead mankind to victory, and that they will both die in the attempt. Therefore, it's very important to me that Jon gets at least one episode of feeling happy and safe and like he doesn't have to be strong for once, just for one episode, just for one small amount of time before he dies saving our asses. Now, here we go to King's Landing. I bloody love Euron. I love his naked enjoyment of being cheered by the crowds in King's Landing. And I love his chiding of Jaime about Cersei's sexual preferences. I really like that he doesn't act with the grace and decorum and class of the rest of the Westerosi highborn population. I like that he just seems really classless and unschooled. Cersei's revenge on Ellaria is so horrific. And yes, she deserves it because Myrcella was innocent, but I was in tears watching this. I honestly can't imagine anything more horrifying than watching a family member die in front of you and then watching their body slowly decompose. Cersei was written as someone originally whose emotions would get the better of her, like her rage would control her. But now all of her children are dead and her humanity seems to have died with them. She seems to have a real talent for cold, calculated evil in a way that she didn't before. She has become a little bit of a cartoon villain, but to be honest, I do find the transition fairly believable considering what has brought her to this point. Before, the only thing keeping her from being entirely unhinged was her kids, and now they're all gone. The main focus of her life is power and dominance and revenge. I don't know if anyone else has mentioned this. I liked the parallel between Cersei and the Mad King. In one of Jaime's chapters, I forget which book, maybe Feast for Crows, he says, whenever Aerys gave a man to the flames, Queen Rhaella would have a visitor in the night. Immediately after getting her revenge on the Sand Snakes, Cersei comes to Jaime all lubed up and horny. Cersei and Jaime now being completely open about their relationship is interesting, and I can't help but feel that it might be a part of their downfall in episodes to come. Okay, the Iron Bank are back. I wondered what was going to happen with these guys. I was a bit irritated by the fact that a man from the Iron Bank of Braavos, a city founded by former slaves, would be having a discussion with the Queen of the Seven Kingdoms about how Daenerys' destruction of the slave trade has affected their profits. For Braavos, the absolute founding principle of that city is we do not have slaves here. We are anti-slavery. We are anti-slaveryville. That is who we are. I feel like that's a pretty huge oversight, or maybe it's entirely believable and it's just like they turn a blind eye because all they care about is profits. I mean, the guy was kind of talking about how blowing up the Sept of Baelor was a great move, so overall my thought was, I would imagine the Iron Bank invested considerable gold in the slave trade. I fucking doubt it, love. Okay, Jon and Tyrion. Tyrion's comments about Jon's superior brooding skills are pretty hilarious. Maybe they should add that to his style. Superior brooder of the Seven Kingdoms of the North. Tyrion's intervention here is great. Is completely rational. Like, what you are asking us is not a reasonable thing to ask. Now we go north to Sansa. I'm really happy them showing her being really good at ruling. I've kind of had this feeling for a while like Sansa might be the last man standing at the end of the War for the Dawn. She's the only one of the remaining Starks who's not involved in magic. She's just learned to live off of her wits, and through that she's become very smart and a very good politician. I think that Sansa will be the queen at the very end of whatever is left of Westeros. I think that's going to be her role. So seeing her being given the chance to lead for the very first time is pretty wonderful. Now, can I ask, why is Sansa being called my lady when surely she's a princess if Jon is her brother and he's the king? Surely she's a princess. When Robb was the king in the north, they referred to Bran as the Prince of Winterfell. So why is it that now Sansa is Lady Sansa and not Princess Sansa? Is it because Jon is only her half-brother and he's a Snow and not a Stark? Or is it because of poor writing and continuity? For some reason, this really annoys me. I want her to be called Princess Sansa. It suits her really well, almost as well as Queen Sansa will suit her one day. I'm enjoying watching her little irritated sniping at Littlefinger. I also liked is a strong word, but I found interesting his pseudo-intellectual psychobabble about how his sociopathic brain process works. He's clearly really underestimating Sansa and still treating her as if she's his protege and he's got her under his thumb, and therefore is sharing all of his trade secrets with her. Fortunately, Sansa's been smart enough to play dumb for all of these years, while she's been silently taking absolutely everything in from the people around her. The Stark girls both have a wonderful tactic of playing up to the expectations of women and girls in their world and acting weak or stupid or helpless And when those who've underestimated them let their guard down, they then turn that to their advantage. Now, oh my god, Stark reunion! Okay, so Bran's not really human anymore, and so it kind of lacked the incredible emotional depth and like gut-wrenching amazingness of Jon and Sansa's reunion last season. But I still couldn't help but shed a little tear of joy for my wolf babes. Hopefully next episode Arya will return to Winterfell as well, and then we just have to hope that Jon will someday make it back. And to all those who've been talking shit about how fucking power hungry Sansa is supposed to be, the first thing that she says to Bran is, "You're Lord of Winterfell now." And obviously Bran refuses the title because he's like, "No, I'm now Tree Internet. I've got a greater destiny." But the very fact that she offers that to him and passes on the mantle shows that she doesn't care about power, only her family and her home. I know there's been a bit of debating online about whether it was really necessary for Bran to prove to her that he has all this power and can now see everything by saying to her, "Oh yeah, I saw your wedding night. It's a shame, you looked so beautiful, and then you got horribly, brutally raped." But I think it's important to note that all the way through the books, Caitlin describes Bran as like her favourite child because he's so sweet and sensitive and lovely. So this scene does really, really well to show how much Bran has changed from the sweet, sensitive little kid to someone who's completely overwhelmed by his powers, that he doesn't have necessarily a lot of room for empathy in there anymore. Like, he tries to be empathetic, but it doesn't really come across super lovely. I'm nursing a bit of a theory that Bran might be the Night King. So the fact that he started acting all detached and weird and not really like a normal human anymore kind of is supporting my theory, I think. And oh my god, poor Sansa. Like, when crazy stone cold psycho serial killer Arya gets back next episode, I think she's going to be longing desperately for Jon's unsmiling, dismissive, brooding company as welcome reprieve from these two. Now at the Citadel, lol at Jorah just being like, yeah, just got better. Is this supposed to be the 24 hours later that the Archmaester said he would give him in order to allow him to fall on his sword before he sent him to the ruins of Valyria? Because if it is, Sam really must be a fucking miracle worker. Poor Jorah should be suffering a hell of a lot worse from all that flaying. But it's fine, whatever. I'm guessing this new bond between Sam and Jorah is going to help cement the connection between Jon and Daenerys. I really love the fond recollections of Jeor Mormont when they talk. I really miss that guy's barely disguised Scouse accent. A few people are saying that the Archmaester giving Sam all of these scrolls to copy out is probably some kind of hidden sort of gift. Like, they're all going to be about like the long night and stuff. So I really hope that's true. Oh my god, I really want to read them. That's going to be so exciting. Here we go to Casterly Rock. Now, I take back what I said last week.
Now, I love you, Elena, but I would not be banking on you against Tyrion. Tyrion's made battle plans before. You listen to Tyrion.
Now, I hate to be smug again, but I'm pleased that I called the Unsullied were going to use Tyrion's knowledge of the sewers to sneak their way into Casterly Rock. The rock didn't look how I pictured it, because in my book, The World of Ice and Fire, it's on an enormous cliff and it just looks utterly impregnable, and I don't think it was 100% as huge as it was supposed to be, but it's fine. I guess we're probably not going to see it much anymore anyway, so whatever. All in all, this battle, interestingly, has become a battle of wits between the Kingslayer and the Imp, and who'd have fucking thunk it, the Kingslayer is winning. Jaime using Robb Stark's battle tactics in the Whispering Wood. I did not see that coming. And it does make perfect sense now that the Lannisters are much poorer than the Tyrells, that Highgarden is really the prize. Maybe Tyrion just had no idea, because that was a conversation between Cersei and her father. Maybe Tywin wouldn't have trusted Tyrion with that information about the gold mines in Casterly Rock being utterly empty. This is why I absolutely love this show. I didn't see this coming, and even off book, it's still so fucking clever. I really did enjoy old Jaime Goldenhand racing up and down on his horse, up and down the flanks of his army. And that new version of the Reigns of Castamere playing over the top. I'm so down for this. So cool. I love it. Even though at this point in the books Jaime has abandoned Cersei, I really don't mind this canon divergence because I feel like it's really interesting seeing Jaime learning from his mistakes. And no, he hasn't learned from his personal mistakes, but as a military leader, he really, really has. Because we're told in season 1 the Kingslayer is very rash and impulsive and impatient, and that's why Robb finds it so easy to lure him into the trap in the Whispering Wood and capture him. He's becoming much more cunning and patient and less impulsive as a general, and I really like that development. And oh, Queen of fucking Thorns, holy shit. Live like a boss, die like a boss. Yeah, I'm just going to make sure that you're not planning to torture me. And once I've disarmed you and you've treated me like the frail, innocent old lady that you perceive me to be, and given me a nice, peaceful death, I'm just going to reveal to you how I murdered your son in front of you. Even when she's dying, Lady Olenna Tyrell gets the last fucking word, and that you have got to respect. This is shaping up to be such an exciting season. This was a great episode. Waiting another week, like I always say, is just the hardest thing ever. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, and share this video. And thank you very much for all of your support. And I will see you next week. Thank you very much. Bye.